that's considered the marketing savior for the sport.
So many people were also painting her out to be the problem. She could never do enough. She could never speak out enough.
Since they have been in the league longer, the entitled players believe they should also be given a larger contract with a better value. Thus they are not happy with Caitlin Clark's latest offer from Europe.
Game is physical. Caitlin is helping to grow the league. These women understand that, but she cannot be babied as a rookie. That's all I'm...
Caitlin's transfer abroad will cause the WNBA to collapse, giving her the highest wage in the world, something she genuinely deserves, and possibly the opportunity to play in a league that values her rather than one where players are out to get her.
Here's the reality. It wasn't what it is. The quality of basketball may have been up to snuff, and you had somebody as popular as Cheryl Swoops who had her own signature shoe, had to deal with Nike and all of this other stuff. But the bottom line is, very few people gave a damn.
Caitlin's desire to stay in a league where even her own players betray her makes sense. Following the revelation, DJ Carrington and Melissa Smith were spotted laughing about the viral eye poke.
Ow! Oh, I'm sorry. You poked me in the eye. You're a You did. I did not poke you. Did you do it on purpose? I did not poke you in the eye. Did you do it on purpose?
We have a teammate named Caitlin, and the opposition players obviously don't want her in the league. Now that her teammates are mocking her, she should accept the offer from the EuroLeague and quit the WNBA, begging for her to come back. DJ Carrington is questioning whether she did it on purpose by imitating Caitlin, while her own team hasn't indicated that they will support her either. Instead, they have been sharing highlights from Smith's season.
I wonder if Caitlin, in every post-game press conference, she came out and talked about the kind of hateful comments that she was getting. If she came out and told everybody the reason why she has personal security that goes with her every single place, it's a lot. And so it's not just Caitlin Clark fans or Indiana Fever fans. It is not all going in one direction.
Because Caitlin Clark's deal with a European team isn't simply another move, it's a clear illustration of the disparity between possibilities accessible to certain WNBA players and those who can attract attention overseas. Why does this particular move generate such a stir within the league? Players with years of league experience have not been able to go to ASA, but Caitlin, who recently switched to professional basketball, has gained international recognition. Wilson, one of the most well-known names in women's basketball, hasn't received the same offers as Caitlin.
Saying it wasn't to the degree of Caitlin Clark being on that basketball court and people watching her, but nevertheless, rising tide lifts all boats.
The underlying message that this choice conveys to the rest of the WNBA, according to A'ja Wilson, is what's making people unhappy with Caitlin's move, not just the fact that she agreed to play in Europe. A'ja has long believed that winning the league MVP award should mean more than just taking home a trophy. In her view, being named MVP should inevitably lead to the best deal and recognition. But she is currently seeing Caitlin Clark, who hasn't played for as long or accomplished as much in the professional world, get offers that someone of A's caliber should be getting.
There were a lot of people that laid the groundwork that deserve shine as well. Here's what we're going to do.
Are they playing now?
Here's what we're going to do.
Are they playing now?
We don't have Andrea.
Remember, you got
we don't have any of the women, Chanae. They'll come back on. We'll revisit this conversation gladly.
Even though A'ja was the MVP, she didn't draw the same crowds at the WNBA level, which exacerbates her frustration because it highlights the harsh reality that success and skill don't always translate into financial gain. In contrast, Caitlin's collegiate games were packed with fans excited to watch her play.
There's a reason 12 million people are watching ESPN for a game. If that game was on CBS, they probably would have had 25, 30 million people watching that game.
DJ Carrington is well known for his hatred of Caitlin Clark. The two players had a pass together, and Carrington's resentment peaked during the infamous eye poke incident, in which Caitlin got a black eye. Instead of apologizing for her actions, Carrington chose to ridicule Caitlin, which heightened their animosity. This public display of disdain wasn't an isolated incident. Rather, it was a reflection of Carrington's long-standing hostility for Caitlin. This resentment most likely stems from the fact that, despite Carrington's own skill as a player, she hasn't achieved the same level of success or notoriety as Caitlin. This has caused a sense of resentment that was exacerbated by the eye joke incident. It seems personal that someone who hasn't worked as hard as Caitlin is receiving her rapid rise to fame.
the most watched WNBA games in over 2 decades. What does that tell you? That tells you that before Caitlin Clark came along, it wasn't nearly as popular. It doesn't mean it wasn't growing in popularity over the last 2 to 3 years. But 3 years ago, WNBA was an afterthought.
The most troubling aspect of Carrington's behavior is that, instead of expressing regret for the hurt caused, she seemed to take pleasure in Caitlin's problems by making fun of them in a way that implied that she enjoyed seeing her go through hardships. This kind of behavior goes beyond business rivalry and turns into a personal one. Carrington has treated Caitlin disrespectfully and resentfully, and Caitlin has had to deal with this throughout her WNBA career. Since the eye puke incident, DJ Carrington and Melissa Thomas have taken sides in their mutual hostility toward Caitlin Clark. Melissa was seen laughing with her girlfriend about Caitlin's injury, displaying a total lack of compassion for her fellow player. This type of conduct is appalling, particularly from someone who ought to be a professional athlete. The fact that Carrington and Melissa laugh at Kate's injury suggests a more serious issue with a degree of animosity in the league. Instead, she is dealing with open hostility from her peers, which creates a toxic environment where players actively try to bring each other down in addition to competing against one another. The WNBA is supposed to be a place where players support one another and work together to improve the league. Caitlin's on-court injuries weren't just an accident. They came to symbolize the hostility she faces from players like Melissa and Carrington.
Racism has been impacting the WNBA well before this year. This is not a new thing. Sure. This is, and in that way, I do think Caitlin's being used as a pawn. Caitlin didn't bring racism to the WNBA. This has been happening.
The annoyance Caitlin Clark's experiences extend beyond her interactions with other WNBA players to her own team, the Indiana F. In professional sports, a team is supposed to represent a safe and supportive environment where players are united in a common goal, winning games and achieving success together. It's about trust, collaboration, and solidarity, especially during difficult times. However, Caitlin's reality with the Indiana Fever has been anything but supportive. Rather than banding together to support her, who was clearly injured, the team seemed indifferent, failing to publicly defend her or even acknowledge the situation in a meaningful way. This must have felt like a betrayal, as not only were her efforts being sidelined, but their own team seemed more interested in celebrating the accomplishments of others than protecting one of their star players. For any athlete, especially one of Caitlin's caliber, it raises serious questions about the internal dynamics of the organization and suggests a much deeper issue if a player like Caitlin, who has given the WNBA so much value and attention, isn't getting support from her teammates and coaching staff. In this case, the lack of assistance she received isn't exclusive to one occurrence. Rather, it indicates a bigger issue with the team culture. It's obvious that Caitlin's contributions to the team and personal well-being don't carry as much weight as they should because her teammates and staff have opted to remain silent or focus on other players. It can be emotionally draining to feel alone or undefended by your own squad.
All I gotta say is she's lucky this UConn team isn't healthy. And that's a true statement.
That's not. That's wrong, Molly.
Monica?
That's wrong, Molly. Molly,
like
it's
five
excuses.
top players,
it's excuses,
am I right?
Molly. It's
Major
excuses.
injuries.
You would not be saying that if it wasn't UConn.
Major stars not playing.
Listen, excuse me.
Go.
It's her against Caitlin Clark.
Stephen A.
Ain't no excuses.
Stephen
you
A.
got there.
Wait a
no,
minute.
don't want to hear that now.
Stephen A.
Let me tell you, if
Paige
Georgetown
Becker-
get back in the mix, I'm going to be insufferable. I'm just telling you that now.
What?
If Paige Beckerson basically missed 2 seasons, I don't know if we'd be talking about Caitlin Clark the way we are.
It can lead to players losing confidence and feeling alienated, which affects their performance and overall satisfaction in the league. It also makes Caitlin question whether the WNBA and, more specifically, the Indiana Fever, are the right places for her to continue her career because, after all, why would she stay when her own team doesn't seem to be supporting her? This incident further complicates Caitlin's decision to consider playing in Europe, where she would likely earn more money, deal with less hostility from rival players, and possibly even find herself in a more polite and supportive team environment. The Indiana Fever's lack of support for Caitlin could be the final straw she needs to decide to transfer overseas because European leagues are known for giving their best players the resources and encouragement they need to succeed.
A lot of this noise came by people that were sitting on this network. They tried to minimize her, said, well, you giving her all this credit. What about the women that came before her? What the women came before her, what they did cannot be taken away. That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin.
It might be disastrous for the WNBA, which has traditionally struggled to compete with other major sports leagues, to lose someone like Caitlin who can draw in new fans. Concerns are raised by Caitlyn's move to Europe since it could establish a precedent if one of the league's top players leaves for better opportunities. What is preventing other top athletes from doing the same abroad? The top WNBA players may eventually play overseas, leaving the league with fewer memorable stars to attract fans. Caitlyn's departure could be the deciding element that sends the WNBA into a tailspin and undoes years of progress.
All I know, when they got eliminated from the playoffs, the attendance dropped, the ratings dropped. If the WNBA is more, it is, and I get it. Why aren't people?
This affects not just Caitlyn, but also the WNBA's general future direction. Although Caitlyn's departure implies that the WNBA isn't doing enough to retain its best players, Asia Wilson and DJ Carrington are aware that the league cannot afford to lose them. Caitlin Clark's decision to join a European team might have long-term repercussions for the WNBA, which has spent years trying to increase attendance, build its fan base, and establish itself as a major power in the professional sports sector. Caitlyn was one of the key figures pushing for that growth.
All the women that have been calling for the equality, and now that there is the chance for them to start getting paid more because the exposure's up. Because it's her, you have people like, what's her name, Jamelia Hill or what? I can't stand her. Yeah. You got these women who are coming on here and they're saying it's because she's...
Fans who had been watching Caitlyn during the playoffs suddenly lost interest, and the data indicated that this poses a significant issue for the WNBA. The league has worked tirelessly to expand its fan base and raise its profile, but Caitlyn's departure jeopardizes all of that progress without one of its biggest stars. Because of her ability to engage with audiences and draw in fans who might not have otherwise attended WNBA games, she was an invaluable asset to the league. Without her, the WNBA might see a sharp drop in viewership, which would hurt both the league's long-term growth and financial performance. Although Caitlyn has done more than almost anyone else to raise the league's profile, the WNBA had trouble attracting fans and maintaining viewership before Caitlyn's fame. However, now that she is in the spotlight, the league has witnessed record-breaking attendance and increased media coverage. However, rather than celebrating Caitlyn's accomplishments and the positive impact she has had on the league, many players seem determined to bring her down. The criticism she receives from other WNBA players isn't limited to a small number of players. It may affect many of them with resentment and jealousy. Caitlyn's ability to draw fans and secure hefty contracts has drawn the attention of athletes who feel they aren't getting the same possibilities. Caitlyn has questioned whether the WNBA is the ideal venue for her analysts because of the toxic climate.
Will Caitlyn Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now? Immediately? Absolutely.
Caitlyn Clark has every reason to consider moving to Europe, given everything she has experienced in the WNBA. There, she would be paid more, face less hostility, and be able to build her brand without having to deal with the WNBA's constant criticism of Europe. The WNBA may suffer greatly from Caitlyn's move to Europe. Without her, the league runs the risk of losing its biggest star and its growing fan base. Instead, Caitlyn can start over, focus on her craft, and continue to attract new admirers free from the toxicity and drama she's currently dealing with. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment like, Caitlyn has brought more attention to the WNBA than almost anyone else, and her departure could result in a drastic drop in viewership and subscriber count. The WNBA is already struggling to compete with other major sports leagues, so losing someone like Caitlyn could send it into a downward spiral. More videos are now available.